In the center of the galaxy, in a place no human had ever seen, a gathering of powerful alien races sat inside a dark hall. Their eyes glowed in the dim light. Strange symbols floated above them. In the middle of the room, a screen showed recordings from Earth. Videos, history, wars, peace, music, even laughter. One tall alien with green skin and 6 arms, known as Counselor Varek of the Zarkari Empire, pointed at the screen and laughed. His voice was deep and cold. These creatures are emotional, weak. So much noise. So much love and fear. This species cannot survive outside their little blue world. The others laughed with him. A pale creature with red eyes leaned forward. Still, they have advanced quickly. In just a few thousand years, they reached the stars. That is rare, he said. Varek shook his head. That only makes them more dangerous. But not to us. We are gods to them. I say we test them. Let's play a little game. A few council members exchanged glances. One spoke in a slow, deep voice. Be careful, Varek. The humans may be small, but even a small thing can bite if cornered. Varek smiled. Then let them bite. I want to see how hard. On a screen beside them, the image of a small human colony ship appeared. It was heading toward a neutral zone called Sector 19K, a place the humans believed to be safe. The ship carried families, engineers, and scientists, people looking to build a new life on a quiet planet. Varek raised one finger. Send a patrol. Disable the ship. Take a few of them alive. His orders were followed. No one in the hall spoke against him. They all wanted to see what humans would do. The Zarkari patrol ship moved quickly. It had black armor and silent engines. It appeared out of nowhere and cut off the human ship's path. The humans sent a friendly signal, unaware of the danger. But the aliens didn't answer. Instead, the Zarkari jammed their communication and sent a pulse wave that knocked out all the ship's systems. Lights died, engines shut off. The humans inside were confused. Some were scared. Then, a small group of Zarkari soldiers teleported aboard. They moved fast, capturing 3 humans. 1 engineer, 1 young woman, and 1 older man who looked like a scientist. The others were left behind in the dark, helpless. The aliens left just as quickly. The patrol ship vanished, taking the 3 prisoners with it. Back on Earth, inside a hidden bunker beneath the surface, alarms started to flash. The United Earth Defense Command had received the last few seconds of the distress signal. It was short, broken, but clear enough. The colony ship was in trouble. Commander Elena Cross stood in front of the screen, watching the signal play over and over. Her face was calm, but her hands were tight fists. She had seen this kind of thing before. Any reply from the colony ship? She asked. No, ma'am, said the technician. It went silent after the pulse wave hit. Elena took a deep breath. And the ship's last known position? Sector 19K, right near Zarkari space. That was all she needed to hear. She turned to her officers. Prepare Recon Team Alpha. Quiet launch, no public statement, no threats. Just find our people and bring them home. Someone asked, should we inform the Zarkari? Elena looked at him. Her voice was low. No. They already know what they did. In a dark Zarkari prison cell, the human scientist sat against the wall. His name was Dr. Adrian Ward. His face was bruised, but his eyes were steady. Across from him, the young woman, Emily, was silent. The engineer, a man named James, was pacing back and forth. I don't understand, James said. Why us? Why take us? Adrian looked at him. Because they think we're weak. They want to test us. Maybe for study. Maybe for fun. Emily whispered, what if no one comes for us? Adrian didn't answer right away. Then he looked at the small vent above them, where he had hidden a tiny emergency transmitter in his jacket. He had managed to turn it on before the guards came back. It was old tech, but it sent a single word. Taken. He smiled slightly. They're coming, he said. James frowned. Who? Adrian's voice was calm. Humans. At that same moment above Earth, a massive black ship rose from the ocean. It had no name written on it, no signal lights, no noise. It moved like a shadow through the stars. Inside the ship, soldiers sat in silence. Every one of them had lost someone in the last war. Every one of them had trained for years. They were not here to talk. They were not here to negotiate. They were here to bring their people home. The mission was simple: locate the prison, extract the captives, leave a message. A message only the Zarkari could understand. The black ship entered Sector 19K without alert. Its systems were silent, its weapons were warm. In the Zarkari Council Hall, Varric was speaking again. Our patrol returned. We captured 3 humans. No resistance, no honor, just fear. Another alien asked, "And Earth? Any reaction?" "Nothing," Varric said with pride. "They do not even know who took them." But as he spoke, a quiet alarm began to beep in the corner of the room. A red light blinked on the side screen. One of the Zarkari border satellites had gone offline. Varric paused. "Probably a fault in the system," he muttered. Then another light turned red. Another satellite down. Then another, then 2 more. A voice came through the room's speaker. "Sir, unknown ship detected. It is human." Varric stood. "Where?" "Inside our territory, moving fast, not broadcasting any signal." "Intercept it," Varric shouted. The screen shifted. The black human ship moved like a ghost, dodging patrols, cutting through systems, breaking codes, bypassing defenses. In the prison, alarms suddenly screamed. Lights flickered. The guards ran toward the upper levels. Adrian looked at the vent and smiled wider. "I told you," he said. The prison shook. Something had hit it from above. Explosions echoed in the distance. The walls cracked. The door to their cell opened, not by guards, but by force. A tall soldier in black armor stepped in. His helmet glowed blue. "Dr. Ward?" Adrian stood. "Yes. You're coming with us." James and Emily followed close. They didn't ask questions. They didn't need to. Outside, the black ship hovered above the prison. It had opened the roof with a single blast. A cable dropped. Soldiers moved like water, silent, fast, precise. Inside the Zarkari council room, chaos broke out. "They're here," someone shouted. Varric's face twisted. "Impossible. How did they find us so fast?" The screen showed the human ship moving again. It had left the prison. It was heading toward the Zarkari base on planet Rethon, one of their most protected stations. But it didn't attack the base. It stopped just close enough to be seen. Then it sent a message, no voice, just one sentence: "Don't laugh." Then it disappeared. Gone. Vanished into deep space. No trace, no signal, no sound. Back on Earth, Commander Elena watched the screen. The rescue was successful. All 3 captives were safe. No humans lost. No ships damaged. She turned to her team. "Let the galaxy wonder," she said. "Let them remember what happens when you touch our people." In the dark council hall, no one laughed anymore. Varric sat down slowly. He stared at the blank screen. His voice, once proud, was now quiet. "We made a mistake," he said. No one answered. Because now the galaxy had remembered something old, something deep. You don't laugh at humans, you don't test them, you don't take what's theirs, because when you do, they come for you, and they never stop. The black ship returned in silence, slipping through space like a shadow. No signal, no light, no sound. Earth said nothing. The galaxy, however, had started whispering. Some called it a warning. Others called it luck. No one knew what the humans were thinking. But deep inside Earth's Defense Command, the mood was not calm. Commander Elena Cross stood in a long hallway watching a quiet screen. No alarms, no blinking lights. Just a single report showing the 3 rescued humans back in recovery. They were safe. But peace wasn't the goal. Not anymore. Far across space, the Zarkari Empire tightened its borders. Ships doubled their patrols. New sensors were deployed. There were whispers inside their ranks, quiet talks about fear, mistakes, and the fact that no one knew how the humans had found them so fast. Even Varric, the proud counselor who once laughed the loudest, now avoided eye contact when humans were mentioned. His voice was lower, slower, less certain. Still, the Empire couldn't allow a loss to go unanswered. They began testing human satellites, disrupting transmissions in remote sectors, sending quiet probes near human colonies. It wasn't called an attack. Not officially, just movement, just curiosity. But Earth noticed. In a small outpost orbiting Jupiter's moon Europa, strange readings began to show. Electrical pulses, faint signal interference, then silence. The post went dark. It wasn't a major base, just 6 people, scientists. No weapons, no military. They were studying ice patterns and magnetic waves. Nothing political, nothing strategic. Still, Earth responded. This time, the ship they sent wasn't black. It was silver, long, and shaped like a spear. It had no crew. It didn't need one. It carried sensors, scanners, silent eyes that could see through clouds and stone. It moved alone without sound and arrived at Europa within hours. The outpost was empty. No damage, no life. Everything was turned off, as if the crew had just walked away. Back on Earth, Adrian Ward sat inside a quiet room, recovering from his time as a prisoner. A nurse brought him tea. He didn't drink it. He stared at the screen in front of him, data from Europa's missing station. His hands didn't shake, but his eyes were tired. He stood and walked to the nearby officer. "Let me help," he said. "You just came back." The officer replied. Adrian gave a small smile. "Which is why I understand what we're dealing with." They gave him access. Not because he asked, but because he had seen something most hadn't. Fear in alien eyes. Arrogance replaced with silence. Over the next few days, strange things continued. A human supply ship traveling to Mars lost contact for 10 minutes. It came back with no memory of the gap. A moon scanner near Saturn picked up a shadow that vanished when looked at directly. Another colony reported seeing flashes of light in the sky at night, like distant fires that left no smoke. One by one, these events began to connect. The silver probe that had gone to Europa returned with something unexpected. A signal that wasn't human. It was buried deep in static, but the pattern matched Zarkari design. Faint, almost like a whisper. But it was there. Elena Cross stood with her team in a dark command room. The signal played again. Then she turned it off and spoke quietly. "We didn't start this, but we're going to finish it." This time, Earth wouldn't just watch. They would act, but not with force. They sent a message, not through words, but through presence. Small human vessels appeared in neutral zones. Human research ships were now escorted by silent escorts that watched from the shadows. Every human signal was now layered with encryption no one could crack. Their systems glowed brighter. Their movements became harder to track. The galaxy started paying attention. The Zarkari Council met again. Some wanted to apologize. Others wanted to double their defenses. Varric said nothing for a long time. When he finally spoke, his words were, "Quiet. We underestimated them." Outside in deep space, something new moved through the dark. Another human ship. This one unlike anything ever seen before. It didn't broadcast a name. It didn't ask for permission. It simply moved forward, quiet and steady, heading straight for a place no human had ever visited. The Zarkari home system. And still, Earth said nothing. But their silence was starting to speak louder than any words. The stars watched in silence as the newest human ship moved closer to Zarkari space. It did not shine. It did not blink. It only traveled forward, calm, sure, and completely unbothered by the warnings around it. In the Zarkari Council chamber, unease grew with every passing hour. The silver vessel showed no signs of slowing. Its shape was unfamiliar, long, smooth, sharp at the front like it had been carved from light. No one could scan inside. Its surface reflected every signal back like a mirror. The council called in their best minds. Engineers, scientists, strategists. Still, no one understood what they were seeing. "They're not speaking," one of them said. "They don't need to," replied another. Far from the council, deep inside a mountain range on Earth, Adrian Ward stood before a wall of screens. His face was sharper now, more focused. His time in the Zarkari prison had changed him, not just because of what he saw there, but because of what he learned humans were capable of when tested. Elena Cross joined him. Her tone was quiet, but steady. "We're not here to start anything," she said. "No," Adrian replied. "We're just showing them what happens when they think we won't respond." He tapped one of the screens. A map opened, showing the outer edge of Zarkari territory. Several signals flashed red. Zarkari communication hubs going offline. Not destroyed, just interrupted, scrambled, quiet. "They think we're unpredictable," Adrian continued. "But they're the ones who can't figure us out. On a distant colony called Vega 3, humans were doing something new. They were building, not weapons, not warships, but stations. Bright towers reaching toward the sky. Open signals. Clean energy. Peaceful work, but orbiting above them were ships. Silent watchers with unmarked hulls. No one spoke of what they carried. No one had to. The message was clear. Humans could build, and they could protect what they built. Meanwhile, in a Zarkari science facility far from the council, young researchers studied recent events. Some of them were curious, not afraid, not angry. One of them, a pale-eyed analyst named Wren, began keeping notes in secret. "Humans do not act the way we expected," he wrote. "They do not speak, yet we hear them. They do not show strength, yet we feel it. They do not threaten, yet we hesitate." The council didn't listen to voices like Wren's. They were too busy looking at numbers, trying to calculate risk. But something deeper was happening now. Something no system could measure. A quiet respect was growing. On Earth, Commander Elena received a report. A group of Zarkari diplomats had requested a private channel, not to accuse, not to argue, but to ask a question. Why? Elena didn't answer right away. Instead, she let them wait. That silence said more than any long speech ever could. Back near Zarkari space, the silver ship reached its destination. Not a base, not a station, but an empty system the Zarkari had long ignored. It deployed something. A sphere. It floated in, space humming faintly. The Zarkari tried to scan it. They failed. They tried to touch it with probes. The probes shut down. A message blinked onto their main screen. 4 words. "We see. We wait." There was no name, no signal, no trace. But everyone knew who sent it. In the following days, traffic across neutral zones began to slow. Zarkari ships turned away from human borders. Other alien species began to send soft greetings, curious messages, not fear, interest, wonder. The galaxy, once so sure of its order, had been given something new to think about, not power, not control, but the quiet certainty of a species that remembered everything, said little, and acted only when it mattered most. Back on Earth, Adrian stood beneath an open sky. The stars looked the same. But something had changed, something that couldn't be seen on a map or measured by any machine. He looked up and smiled slightly. They weren't laughing anymore, and they never would again. The galaxy was still, not silent, not frozen, but holding its breath. Since the arrival of the silver ship and the appearance of the strange floating sphere, the usual flow of information had changed. Ships that once traveled freely now paused. Stations that buzzed with messages now watched instead. Curiosity had taken over caution, but Earth had said nothing more. No words, no reply. No movement. And that silence had started to mean something. In the deep tunnels beneath Earth's surface, a hidden council met, one not known to the public, Not political, not military. Just minds, observers, strategists, thinkers. They studied the galaxy not as enemies and allies, but as patterns. Adrian Ward stood among them now, not as a soldier, not as a symbol, but as a witness, the only one who had seen the Zarkari Council up close and lived to reflect on it. They expected us to react, he said, loudly, quickly, carelessly. But we didn't. Another council member replied. Adrian nodded. Because we finally understand we don't need to. A new signal had appeared, small, hidden inside an old frequency band, the kind used before the galaxy paid attention to humans. It wasn't from Earth. It wasn't from any known colony. It was coming from the outer rim, from a forgotten zone. And the signal wasn't a message. It was a question. Who are you really? Not from the Zarkari, not from any official empire, just a whisper from someone watching too closely for too long. Earth did not reply. Instead, the silver ship that had placed the floating sphere moved again. It drifted toward the signal but stopped halfway. From there, it remained motionless, present, watching, waiting. Elsewhere, on a colony near the edge of human space, a young scientist named Kara Lynn was working late in the research dome. She noticed a shift in gravitational readings, barely visible like the tug of a ghost star. Her assistant looked over. You think it's natural? No, she replied. I think someone's testing us. But why here? We're not important. Kara stared at the readings again, thinking, that's exactly why. A report was sent quietly to Earth, no emergency, no alarm. Just data, patterns, the kind of thing the Hidden Council paid close attention to. In the weeks that followed, more strange signals appeared, quiet, incomplete, almost like echoes from someone trying to speak across a broken bridge. Some said it was a lost Zarkari outpost. Others believed a new species had noticed the humans and was watching carefully, deciding what to do next. Earth's response was always the same. Observation, patience, stillness. This new approach confused many. The galaxy had always known Earth to be emotional, reactive, curious. But now, Earth was becoming something else, something harder to define. Even the Zarkari began to take notice in a different way. One of their senior diplomats, old and weathered, wrote a private report to his leaders. Humanity is no longer just a rising power. They are something deeper now. A presence, like a shadow that chooses when to be seen and when to disappear. The Zarkari Council did not publish this, but they read it. Twice. Back on Earth, Elena Cross reviewed the gathered information. Her desk was filled with silent reports, soft interruptions, strange gaps in deep space scanners, signals that began and ended without purpose. No threats, no clear intentions. But there was a pattern. They're not trying to stop us anymore, she said aloud. They're trying to understand us. Adrian stood beside her. And what happens when they finally do? Elena gave no answer. She didn't need to. Across space, in the dark between stars, the floating sphere blinked once. Only once. A single pulse of light. Then, it changed shape. Not into a weapon, not into a warning, but into a mirror. It now reflected everything around, turning stars, ships, even shadows. It showed the galaxy its own face. The message was clear. This wasn't about power anymore. It was about awareness. The kind that couldn't be turned off. The kind that reminded the galaxy humanity had seen everything and was choosing what to do next. In the quiet stillness of Sector 87, where starlight stretched thin and gravity barely held, a new object appeared. It had no engines, no lights, no markings. Just a smooth, dark surface that floated, perfectly still, as if it had always been there, waiting to be noticed. But it hadn't been there before. That much was certain. A Zarkari cargo ship found it first. Their scanners failed to detect mass, no signal, no heat. But when the ship turned to leave, the object rotated too, just slightly, just enough to be seen. It wasn't a threat. Not directly, it was something else. A reminder. The crew reported the sighting in hushed tones, unsure how to describe what they'd seen. But before the message reached their command, a second report came in, this time from a peaceful trade station in another sector. They too had seen something, not the same shape but the same feeling, a presence. Earth was silent. Again. Across human colonies, life went on. Farms grew food. Children studied stars. Engineers tested quiet technologies powered by light and motion. But behind all this normal life, something else moved. Plans, carefully measured, checked again and again. Commander Elena Cross sat in a meeting room with two unknown visitors. They wore no ranks, no flags. Their names were not spoken, but they brought knowledge. Old knowledge gathered from before humans had even reached the moon. "We believe they are testing reflection," one said. Elena looked up. "What does that mean?" "They are not trying to see us clearly. They are trying to see how we see them." Adrian Ward listened from the corner, arms crossed. He had heard stranger ideas before, but this one made sense. The galaxy wasn't pushing humans away anymore. It was watching how humans reacted when watched themselves. The floating sphere had become a mirror. Now the galaxy was placing mirrors of its own. In a quiet dome near Saturn's rings, a human signal expert noticed something strange. Every time he checked the satellite logs, the timing was slightly off. Not broken, just adjusted, smoothed. He called it the echo effect. Signals were returning before they were sent. Earth's deep thinkers began comparing notes. Something was mimicking their technology, but not to interfere. It was learning how they operated, testing rhythms, studying patience. The human response was careful, not louder, not bigger, just more intentional. Across different sectors, small probes were launched. They didn't collect data. They didn't scan. They simply existed. Round, silent, and perfectly balanced. They floated, waited, and left no message. Just presence. The message was quiet but strong. "We see you. We understand your reflection. Now understand ours." On a remote Zarkari moon, an observatory picked up a soft sound. Not audio, not a message. Just a soft vibration across thin magnetic fields. The scientist called it a tone. It matched no pattern, but it felt familiar, like something ancient remembered. Back on Earth, Adrian walked through the Hall of Connections, a room filled with lights marking every human signal across space. He paused before a section marked echoes. The lights there were new, appearing in places no ship had been. He spoke quietly to himself. "They're not trying to stop us. They're trying to become part of the conversation." Elena joined him. "And if we answer wrong?" Adrian didn't blink. "Then we prove them right about fearing us." But that wasn't the goal. The next move was simple. Nothing. No new ship, no new signal. Just quiet human stations glowing calmly in orbit. Colonies working together. Students asking questions. Scientists building things that didn't need to last forever, but mattered now. The Zarkari Council held another secret session. No debate, no argument, just listening. At the end, one of the oldest members stood up and said something that hadn't been spoken in Zarkari language for over 1,000 cycles. "We were wrong, but now we can choose to see clearly." No one laughed, no one clapped, but something shifted. The galaxy had stopped asking who humans were. Now it was asking, what do they want us to become? And the answer was still waiting. The galaxy had become quiet, not out of fear, but because it was listening. For the first time in recorded history, all major species had turned their eyes toward one planet. Earth had not demanded this. Earth had not announced itself. But Earth had become something no one expected. A mirror that could not be ignored. From the old empire worlds to the newest outer colonies, stories were spreading. Stories of silver ships that never spoke, of orbs that floated silently, asking nothing, of humans who did not reach out, but also did not turn away, and most of all, Stories of change. In the heart of a peaceful research zone, a group of young learners gathered around a shared screen. They were not human. They had never seen Earth. But they watched old Earth transmissions, books turned into visual records, music from long before Earth had joined the stars, even simple conversations between people. What are they doing now? One student asked. The instructor smiled. They are building. Building what? No one knows. That is the point. Far away on the edge of known space, a council of explorers quietly retired their oldest rule. Avoid human sectors. Do not engage. That rule had kept them safe before, but now it only kept them distant. The universe was changing, and Earth was not forcing that change. It was inviting it. At a hidden Earth station orbiting a quiet star, Elena Cross stood before a clear observation window. Stars stretched endlessly in front of her, but she wasn't looking at them. She was looking at the object. It had changed again. Once a sphere, then a mirror, it had now become something else entirely. A shape that pulsed with slow light, moving not with power but rhythm, like breathing. It wasn't technology, it wasn't art. It was something between those things, and Earth had no name for it. Adrian Ward stood beside her. His expression had softened since the start of this journey. There was a calm behind his eyes, the kind that only came after learning something deeper than strategy. They understand now, he said quietly. Do they? Elena asked. Enough to stop fearing what we might do, and start thinking about what they might become. Back in Zarkari space, an unexpected message appeared on the High Council screen. No code, no greeting. Just a single image, a child, laughing under starlight, drawing a shape in the dirt. The shape was not human. It was a circle with many lines connecting across it, almost like a star map, but not of any known region. It had been found on an abandoned outpost once shared by both humans and Zarkari decades ago. The child's identity was never confirmed, but the image was sent from an unknown relay using an ancient human protocol. The message was not in words, it was in meaning. We remember, we connect, we grow. The High Council made no public statement, but across Zarkari space, communication patterns shifted. Ships began marking human zones not as restricted, but as observed. Trade posts quietly updated their maps. Diplomatic signals, once ignored, were now answered. On Earth, life continued. Gardens bloomed on rooftops. Orbiting stations hosted quiet conferences between thinkers of many species. Artists painted with colors never seen before. Poets wrote in shared languages. And somewhere in deep space, the mirrored object finally disappeared. Not destroyed. Not taken. Just gone, as if its purpose was complete. Elena watched the last recorded pulse of its light. A single shape remained behind in the data. Two open circles, side by side. No one could decode it, but some believed it meant unity. Others believed it meant choice. Adrian said nothing, because deep down, he knew. The galaxy no longer asked what humans could do. Now, it asked what humans chose to become. And that question, quiet and clear, would echo across the stars forever.